Good evening, distinguished and revered comrades. I welcome you to this closing of polls and announcement of the election we just concluded, the election into the executive board of our dear association, ICS Ahiaeke 87 Old Boys Association. You will recall that for weeks now we have been preparing for this election, and finally we have been able to accomplish our desires of conducting a credible and successful election. I thank you all for your patience with the electoral office. I thank you for the sacrifices that innumerable members of our body, our association, have been able to do to enable us achieve this milestone. My distinguished comrades who have come to the end of the tunnel with respect to the electoral process of this particular dispensation. We have arrived successfully to the end of this electoral process. And it is with great pleasure that I announce the result of the election into the executive board of ICS Ahiaeke 87 Old Boys Association, which was held on 20th and 21st days of May 2022. If you recall, the election was for 6 offices on our electoral board. And this election was limited to constitutional members of the association. I thank all that made effort to regularize their financial status that enabled them to vote in this election. Thank you very much. My dearest comrades, in this election that we just concluded, we had 35 eligible and accredited constitutional members for this election. Out of the 35 constitutional members accredited for this election, 23 constitutional members successfully voted in the election. However, we voided 2 votes in the election into the office of the secretary. We also voided 2 votes in the election into the office of the assistant secretary. The voidability was caused by the manifest violation of our electoral guidelines by the affected voters. At this juncture, I want to take the singular honor to bring to the notice of our General Assembly that we owe a very big debt that may be almost impossible to liquidate to our brother, a great comrade, Reverend Dr. Godfrey Onyekwere, our very able and competent collation officer that conducted and anchored this election from Detroit, Michigan, in the United States of America. His services in this election remain priceless and invaluable. I do not think that we'll be able to say enough thank you to him. I enjoy all of our comrades to find time to call him and thank him and celebrate this rare gift to our class. In fact, I am delighted to have worked with him. And so, it is now time for us to go to the result proper. This election, which I mentioned earlier, was held from yesterday, 20th of May, 2022, that we opened the polls, and the polls was closed actually at 6 p.m. this evening, Nigerian time. Like I earlier said, we accredited 35 members for this election, but 23 members actually voted in this election. And so, this is the result of the election. We shall start from the election into the office of the Public Relations Officer or Provost. We had two candidates and contestant for this particular office. The first, one of the contestants' name is Julius Chukwe, and the other contestant is Christopher Chukwu. After the voting and collation, Barrister Julius Chukwe scored 15 votes, 15 votes out of 23 votes. Number 2, Christopher Chukwu, the second contestant for the office of the Public Relations Officer or Provost. Christopher Chukwu scored a total number of 8 votes. 8 votes out of 23 votes cast in this election. Julius Chukwe, 15 votes out of 23 votes cast. Christopher Chukwu, 8 votes out of 23 votes cast in this election. Therefore, for the office of Public Relations Officer, or provost, the winner of this contest, of this election, is Barrister Julius Chikwe. Julius Chikwe, having scored the highest number of votes cast in this election, and having satisfied all the requirements of our Constitution, is accordingly declared the winner of this contest and is hereby returned as elected. The next office I am announcing the result is the office of the treasurer. The office of the treasurer has only one candidate. There were no other nominees for this office. We kept the space vacant and we extended time to enable nominees, but only one person came up, and the sole candidate for this particular election into the office of the treasurer. His name is Enyinnea Nwokonta. Enyinnea Nwokonta garnered 23 votes out of the 23 votes cast in this election. There was no single negative vote or nil vote. There was no vote at all against him. Enyinnea Nwokonta, having scored the highest number of votes cast in this election and having satisfied all the requirements of our Constitution, is accordingly declared the winner of this contest and is hereby returned as elected. The next office we are announcing the result is the office of the Assistant Secretary. The office of the Assistant Secretary has two contestants. Uzoma Ebose and Boniface Carlo. Uzoma Ebose scored 5 votes. 5 votes out of 21 votes cast. 5 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. Boniface Carlo scored 16 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. 16 votes. 1, 6. 1, 6. 16 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. Therefore, Boniface Carlo, having scored the highest number of votes cast in this election and having satisfied all the requirements of our Constitution, is accordingly declared the winner of this election and he is hereby returned as elected. The next office I am about to report the result is the office of the Secretary. In the office of the Secretary election, we have 2 candidates, 2 contestants for this particular contest. Kelechi Jude Nwaneri and Udoka Michael Nnaji. Kelechi Jude Nwaneri scored 17 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. 17 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. 17 votes. 17 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. The second contestant, Udoka Michael Nnaji. Udoka Michael Nnaji scored 4 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. 4 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. 4 votes out of 21 votes cast in this election. Therefore, Kelechi Jude Nwaneri, having scored the highest number of votes in the election into the office of the secretary, and having satisfied all the requirements of our constitution, is accordingly declared the winner of this contest, and he is hereby returned as elected. The next office I will announce the result is the office of the Vice President, office of the election into the office of the Vice President. Once again, we have 2 contestants for the office of the Vice President. The 2 contestants are 1. Right Reverend Dr. Anthony Omenihu, and Navy Commander Chukwuemeka Ethelbert Owulu. I repeat, Anthony Omenihu and Chukwuemeka Ethelbert Owulu for the office of the Vice President the result. Anthony Omenihu scored 16 votes out of 23 votes. 16 votes out of 23 votes. 6 votes out of 23 votes. 16 votes out of 23 votes scored by Anthony Omenihu. Chukwuemeka Ethelbert Owulu scored 7 votes out of 23 votes cast in this election. 7 votes out of 23 votes cast in this election. 7 votes out of 23 votes cast in this election. Therefore, Reverend Dr. Anthony Omenihu having scored the highest number of votes cast in this election into the office of the Vice President on the executive board of Ahiaeke 87 Old Boys Association, and having fulfilled the requirements of our Constitution, is accordingly declared the winner and hereby returned as elected. Now, the next position is the office of the President in the Executive Board of Ahiaeke 87 Old Boys Association. The election into the office of the President. For this particular election, we had the same issue we had in the office of the Treasurer. Only one nominee transformed into a sole candidate for this particular election. An extension of 7 days was given to enable more nomination into this office. And after 7 days, we still had only one person as nominated who transformed into a candidate for this election. But we still proceeded to cast our vote in this election, especially for all offices. I insisted that votes must be cast. There's nothing like return unopposed. And so, for the office of the President, the sole candidate is Lazarus Chukwuemeka Nzimoha. Comrade Lazarus Chukwuemeka Nzimoha scored 23 votes out of 23 votes. 23 votes out of 23 votes. I repeat, Comrade Lazarus Chukwuemeka Nzimoha garnered a total of 23 votes out of 23 votes cast in this particular election. Therefore, Comrade Lazarus Nzimoha, having scored the highest number of votes cast in the election into the office of the President on the Executive Board of Ahiaeke 87 Old Boys Association, and having fulfilled the requirements of our Constitution, is accordingly declared the winner of this election and is hereby returned as elected. And so, those was, or rather, the rundown of the election results for the contest we had from yesterday up until today. And so, in summary, let me announce in outline the very result that I had already announced in detail. Office of the President, Lazarus Chukwuemeka Nzimoha, score 23 votes out of 23 votes. Office of the Vice President, A. Anthony Omenihu, score 16 votes out of 23 votes. B. Chukwuemeka Etebert Owulu. Score 7 votes out of 23 votes. Winner Anthony Omenihu for the Vice President. 3. The Office of the Secretary. A. Kelechi Jude Nwaneri. Score 17 votes out of 21 votes. B. Michael Udoka. Sorry, my dear. B. Chukwuemeka Etebert Owulu for the Office of the Vice President. Score 7 votes out of 23 votes. Winner Anthony Omenihu. Sorry for the mix-up. I will repeat the result for the Secretary. Office of the Secretary. Okay. Let me repeat the result of the Vice President for the contest into the Office of the Vice President. The election result is Anthony Omenihu contestant. Score 16 votes out of 23 votes. Chukwuemeka Etebert Owulu contestant. Score 7 votes out of 23 votes. Winner Anthony Omenihu. Number 3. Office of the Secretary. Contestant Kelechi Jude Nwaneri. Score 17 votes out of 21 votes. B. Michael Udoka Nnaji contestant. Score 4 votes out of 21 votes. Winner Kelechi Jude Nwaneri for the Office of the Secretary. Number 4. Assistant Secretary. Result. Contestant Ozoma Oebose. Score 5 votes out of 21 votes. Boniface Carlo contestant. Score 16 votes out of 21 votes. Winner Boniface Carlo. Office of the Treasurer. Enyinia Nwokonta. Score 23 votes out of 23 votes. Winner. Office of the Public Relation Officer or Provost. Contestant Julius Chikwe. Score 15 votes out of 23 votes. Contestant Christopher Chukwu. Score 8 votes out of 23 votes. Winner Julius Chikwe. The total accredited constitutional members 35. The actual voters in the election 23. Void votes in the category of I, Secretary. Office of the Secretary 2 votes voided. Office of the Assistant Secretary 2 votes voided. Summary of winners. 1. President Lazarus Chukwuemeka Nzimoha. 2. Vice President Anthony Omenihu. 3. Secretary, Office of the Secretary Kelechi Jude Nwaneri. 4. Office of the Assistant Secretary Boniface Carlo. 5. Office of the Treasurer Enyinia Nwokonta. 6. Office of the Public Relation Officer or Provost Barrister Julius Chikwe. The 6 officers are hereby returned as elected into the above respective offices as designated and contested under my hand. I'm appending my signature. Barrister Chukwuemeka, Pius Ihunna, returning officer for this election. Thank you very much. God bless us. Thank you, all our comrades. God bless you. Enjoy